This is YBBG, and I am doing a conversation with my guy friend. Today's victim is D Lee or DL, whichever you want to call him. And the topic of our discussion is the dreaded friend zone. Okay, so some time ago we had this conversation about how people, specifically guys, end up in the friend zone. Can you tell us a little bit about how that went?
Uh, um, well, with that particular situation, I don't know if, um, I think looking back on it now, I'm not quite sure if there was an opportunity. Like, I just started noticing some things as the weeks sort of went by. Um, and I just, after maybe about 2 months, maybe almost three, I got to a point where I just sort of, I would notice when you would go over, usually when you see somebody, you know, for the first time or you hadn't seen them in a while or whatever, it's that nice friendship hug, like,
Uh huh.
yeah, I see you in the middle, what's up? And then, you might want to, sneak in a little smooch or something, you know. But then, in this particular situation, I noticed and started noticing that that opportunity never arose, and so I just said, well, I didn't really think anything about it at first, but then it got to a point where we had the conversation, and I just started to ask her, like, okay, so you've been knowing me for this period of time, um, like how you feeling about the situation? Where do you see the potential in the situation? And that's when she started kind of telling me some stuff that kind of started adding up. Like, I think it was one particular occasion where we were ordering some food, and I asked, "Could I come over and sit next to her on the couch and order this food?" And she was like, "Nah, I like my space, sort of thing. I know it sounds kind of odd, but I like my space or whatever. I have a girlfriend like that too, or whatnot, and blase blase." So I was like, oh, "Okay, all right, that's fine." So it was that, and it was, like I said, it was other things that was happening that led me to really ask, like, okay, so where you see us going, where you see the potential, and that's when she started to tell me. You know, Usually, typically at that point, she would have at least given a brother a kiss or whatever the case may be. But the fact that that didn't happen at that time was sort of like an indicator that maybe we just gonna kind of keep this on a little friendship thing. So that's how I found out about that particular situation.
So that was one situation. Have you had it happen before?
Um, mm, Not really. There was another. Um, well, no. I think that was one of the. I think that situation was one in more particular where my homeboy introduced me to her. I liked her. I liked her. I thought that it had the potential to go somewhere, but um, evidently she didn't. And I think deep down inside, it had more or less to do with the fact that she thought that maybe I wasn't established enough for her, maybe I wasn't man enough to handle her, whatever the case may be. I don't know, but hey, to each his own.
Right. So when we talk, like, let me just say, I met you at church. My
Yeah.
homeboy, our mutual homeboy, introduced us,
All right.
and I don't even remember. Like, I think maybe this was the topic that we ended up discussing.
Right. Yeah. Because
Um,
me and him had we had a similar get together with another our first lady of the church, her sister. They were coming together with some concepts about a book on living a Christian single life, and so that's how me and him sort of got together with a couple of other people. We had this sort of panel conversation, and then every so often, you know, we would get up and we have our guys night out sort of thing. And me and him would always have constant conversations about little relationship things, and that's how he referred me to, yourself. And so I was like, okay, and ever since then, it's been good.
All right, so let's talk more about the friend zone. That's what the topic of the blog is for today. And I think when we talked, the question was, how does somebody end up in the friend zone? And why do guys hate the friend zone so much? So let's start with the first part. How do you feel a person ends up in the friend zone?
Um, I think when when two people meet, um, I think almost immediately you have an idea of your intentions with that particular person, whether it's gonna be just a physical thing. Probably at first, I mean, you really only know physical when you see somebody at first. But then when you start to talk to them and you start to hang out with them or whatever, then you see the potential in other things possibly. And I think what happens is, um, maybe women meet certain guys or what have you, and their intentions of that guy is good initially, but then as the time goes by, come to find out it's really not what it's cracked up to be. But they're still a nice guy, so they don't really know. Because certain guys don't know how to take rejection, so maybe they're sort of like, all right, well, he's still cool. I'll just keep him around, but I just keep him at bay. So then that kind of goes into the friendship box. So then they just sort of move on to that next situation and go from there. It's my opinion or my perception of it. I could be completely wrong, but I mean, things that I've noticed and conversations that I've had with females and guys, that's sounds it's usually how it happens.
And I think when we talked that I said that sometimes a guy can end up in the friend zone because he does a little too much too
Yeah,
soon.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think in maybe even in that situation that I was discussing earlier, I thought that that I was doing. I was basically showing her that, yo, like, I'm not just in this to try to see what the physical side of it is. Like, I'm really like trying to be genuine, really trying to show her that I care more about her as a person, her well-being as a person. And yeah, I probably did a few things going out of my way initially when most people wouldn't have probably extended themselves that soon or in those sort of ways. And maybe that had a outlook on her decision, maybe it didn't, but I could see how you spoil somebody in the beginning, you don't really give them anything to look forward to, I guess. So that could have something to do with it.
And then I think even with that, that sometimes people want you to have requirements for them,
Hmm.
and if you don't necessarily have requirements for them, they may start to feel a little above you in a certain situation. And so I guess the friend zone becomes readily available,
Hmm.
meaning they feel more valued than they value you. And so they kind of put you in that position.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that one's kind of because you go into every situation having all of the right intentions and what have you. And yeah, I mean, it's okay for the opposite person to have these standards or whatnot. And I mean, if you don't meet these standards, doesn't necessarily mean that that person is not a good person. It just means that either they aren't the right one for you, which is okay, or it may mean that it's a possibility that we may have to expand a little bit and be a little bit more open minded. I'm not saying lower your standards by any means, but I'm just saying that we don't certain things we don't know about is because we're not exposed to them yet. But once we are exposed to them yet, then it may make a world of difference.
I agree with that. And let's talk about why men have such a hard time with the friend zone. Like, why is that so difficult and hated?
Well, I mean, when you go in the friend zone, wow, it's sort of like I think the biggest thing is you have to, especially if you're a guy who actually like the female that you're put in a friend zone by, um, you now like you're you can't you no longer have a say, so to say. Like, you never really had to say before, don't get me wrong, but it's like now if I go out somewhere and I see this female, I really, it's nothing I can do. Like I'm just cool, and it's that much more difficult to be in a situation with her where maybe I'm even hanging out with her because I'm hanging out with her with the hopes that maybe she'll change her mind and maybe she'll see something that she didn't see before if I spend enough time with her. So it's sort of like we kind of lose. It's almost like we lost the game a little bit in a way. You know, I mean, like we already out. We on the bench now. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's a fresh point guard in there right now. There's somebody putting up numbers in there right now. When you was never given the chance to, you know, to do your thing.
Skills.
Yeah, you know. So it's one of those things you get, you know, 1 or 2 opportunities at most, and that's what happens.
So, do you think someone can escape the friend zone and move into, you know, the franchise player?
Yeah, but it has. In order for you to do that, though, you have to do it like on your own terms. And me, in terms of like, if you put me in the friend zone, okay, the best thing I could do from that is continue to be me, or if not be a better me. And eventually, when you see me again, it's sort of like, dang, that's the one I let get away. Damn, look where he at now. Look what he doing now, whatever. And you doing that for yourself, not to impress her, because you don't even know if you're gonna see her again. At this point, you're in the friend zone, so you know you don't have any other opportunity to be with her the way that you want to be with her. So the best thing you can do is just continue to build yourself, continue to be a better self, a better person for yourself. So that way, in the event that you ever do run into her again, like I said, it'll be like, dang, like, so what you up to now? Yeah, I'm doing this and blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? And she done went into relationship after relationship after relationship, and now she's like, man, I wish I would have kept that one.
Missed out.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey everybody, this is D Lee, and I just had a brief conversation with your boyfriend's best girlfriend.